She's clouded right up today, kids. And a beautiful one. Every time. What a place, huh? Early mornings. This is Leno's Love. And I am coming for my love today because I'm gonna go off the cuff. And I've already shown you guys this drive before. But today, I'm gonna show you the real Leno. Clock Beach, Ipswich, Massachusetts. And one of my initial stories I'm gonna tell you started right up here on a road called Chattanooga Road. And so my uncle, great uncle really, he was a golf pro. He owned a house right up here, a summer house. And my inspiration today is to pull over here at Clock Pond, and I'm just gonna be relative. That house back there was the first place I ever got drunk, sick with it drunk. Probably about 8 years old, my mother thinks. And I was watching everybody laugh and have a great old time. And I was inquiring in my mind, I remember, like, what's in those drinks? Honestly. And so everybody went in the other room, they were doing something. I think there was a party, someone's birthday we were there at, and I commenced to go around to the rest of the drinks on the table. And first I smelled them, but then I just sipped it, and I didn't like it at first. But I just, and I drank like 4 or 5 of them. I can remember staying in that room because I got all warm and fuzzy and I didn't know what to do. So I sat down on one of the chairs and then I started to walk around the table. Then I got under the table because I got dizzy. And then I commenced to throw up all over the place. And my parents came running in and they were mad at me and they were smelling it and they could tell it was booze and everybody was perplexed. I remember it, yeah, but they were mad. So the shaming, let's just throw that in there for a sprinkle because why leave it out? The shaming starts early, right? And no shaming to my parents either. Not shaming or condemning anyone. So I vividly remember my first being drunk. And last night, I got drunk at 57 years old. 50 years later. That one time under the table getting sick and all that wasn't enough, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that most people, their parents had, how shall we say, characteristics and other things that would lead them to say their childhood was definitely trying. And some people would go on to say that they had mad traumas and their life was tumultuous and crazy. And then others would say they grew up on a golf course and they had trials and tribulations, but they were softer in some of our minds. But to them, it wasn't. And family dynamics in and of themselves, if you study them and look into them, which I did because I went to college for psychology as a major, the dynamic itself plays out into the life that you lead in your 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm 57, and my mom still has that patriarchal role instead of just being a woman. You're just my friend. Oh yes, you had sex with a dude, I'm the kid, but you can drop that role. Because in that role sometimes can be friction, old frictions, old memories that were never addressed, old traumas, and trauma comes in many forms if you look it up. Trauma is not what happened to you, really. Trauma itself, if you look it up, is a wound. And trauma is what you do with the incident. And your body remembers. We know this now. It's scientific. Regulated nervous systems, fight or flight. And you've had tastes of this, for those that are uninitiated, all throughout your life. You've had little glimpses of this when you've had that happen. Every one of those is stored and has been stored. And if you didn't work them out, you've been acting them out. That's what I've come to learn. And again, I'm not the teacher, I'm not the guru. This is just my row to hoe. How'd you grow up? When I was growing up, in my house, money was, and most people say, scarce, wasn't around. And sometimes we'll say we had enough, but it was very stressful because it was being counted and managed microly and stressfully. And I know it's not even a word, but I'm flowing, baby, because I'm tired. And I'm here for the thing, staying committed to the vision, and everything always lands in front of me perfectly. I'm gonna say it, and you and I are no different. So if that rubs you the wrong way, oh well, that's good. It's the universe saying. Just like if your job is, you wake up every day. Do you wake up angry? That's another one of my videos coming up. These are things to look at. Because it's just basically, we say God, universe, source, Gus. Who is it though that's prompting you and prodding you to be frustrated, to change your life? And you don't have to change you. Let's get this clear and straight. Because you The real you is already clear and straight. Right to the divine, bing. You don't need anybody in between you and the divine, because you are the divine. You're a piece of it. Someone said so, not me. Because someone said you're breathing. I don't do it, I don't keep it going. Is there a company that keeps your lungs going and your heart pumping? Yeah, there's one big company. God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. So, growing up, did you get shamed? Did you get condemned? Could you make your own decisions all the time? Were you trusted? It's just so much. And all of these conditions and masks that you slap on and go, and slap another one on, open the door, go. You only desire to be the real you. Remember when we were young and everybody would be like, just be yourself, kid. Everyone loves you. I just have to laugh because it makes me laugh. I know I'm not the only one that didn't know how to be myself. I don't even know what the frig that was. Now I do. At 57. Whoa, don't stay stuck too long. So seriously, have you made a study of yourself and looked at what you do in your life and what you think about and why? Do you love it? Do you love it? So once I grew up and was doing my thing and really into doing my thumbprint, I was in Mendocino, California. Anybody that knows, knows. Magic. That place is incredible. And they say you have to go to Northern California at least once in your life, right? Like bucket list stuff. But leave before you get too soft. And then you got to go to Southern California, LA-ish, but leave before you get too hard. How'd you grow up? How's your relationships now with your siblings, with your parents, family, friends, self, most importantly? So, I go to Catholic school, shamed the whole time, right? Because we grew up in low-income housing after my dad left. My mom befriended people in the church, and there was it was called subsidized housing maybe, or whatever it is that you pay with the amount of money that you earn. It was beautiful, the place. My mother had an air conditioner in her room. We had one in the living room. There was 2 bathrooms. My mother had a master bathroom. I mean, these places were state of the art. They really were. You know, obviously it was government run, state run. And anyways, it was excellent until, the inner workings of that place came into effect. It was a city. We came from the country. Now I'm in the city, pretty good sized one, in low-income housing, going to Catholic school. So I would be in Catholic school, private school too, in a cool area of, I'm not gonna name the city. There would be doctors' daughters there that would, we would hit it off. And some parents would be sketchy about dropping their kids off at my house for my birthday parties and whatnot. And so shaming and condemning would start young, so we would think, right? Because of labels. And once I asked one girl, and I just mentioned her initials actually a minute ago, and I'm not shaming and condemning because nobody knows who it is, but I asked her, I said, those are really nice sneakers. Where'd you get them? And she said in front of everybody, it doesn't matter, you can't afford them. Let that hit, okay? So that's how it was. And I know you know because you were a kid once yourself, right? And this is about being relative. Yes, I digress. Catholic school. So I get into a bunch of trouble there, and the last straw was the principal was hitting me with the metal ruler, but she told me that I had my hands like this. We used to put our hands open, but she said, turn your hands over. I said, why? Because the fellas would be around me. They thought I was running gangs kind of almost. And she said, you're the troublemaker right now today. Just put your hand over the other way. We're gonna stop this. And I said, you're not hitting me like that. I let her do it one time. It hurt so bad. And then she went to wind up and do it again. And I pushed her out of the way. I said, you told us not to be violent. I said, I'm out of here. She said, you can't leave this school. And then I just left. My mother came up, I was walking, my mother came up, calling me all kinds of names and telling me I'm no good and how could you do this, and get in the car. Finally I got in the car, she was like hitting me, pulling my hair, doing whatever, calling me names, probably yelling, screaming, and rightly so. She had to leave work where she was a hairdresser, trying to pay what little money she made to where we were living. But we would run out of food, and I would call her at her job, and I'd say, what are we gonna eat? I'm starving, we don't even have any food. And she'd say, you can't call me here right now and do that, I'm in the middle of people. And I'd say, I don't care, I'm starving. And I could tell she'd like muffle the phone and walk away from all the people at the hair salon, and she'd say, there's macaroni and cheese. We had government type like macaroni and cheese or something up there, or 3 for 1s at the store, I can't remember what it was. But there was bugs in them. little tiny bugs, and I don't even think they were cockroaches, but everything that I would open would have like these little tiny bugs here and there in them. And sometimes I would eat it anyway, because the bugs would die. Imagine that? When I would boil the macaroni, there were little tiny bugs, I would just scoop them out of there. Whoa, the things you forget about. Holy Jesus. The things I never told anyone, right? The things we hide because we think we're separate. I'm sure somebody that's watching this maybe had a similar story, right? That's a swan flapping her wings. Whoa, how lucky are we? It's a beautiful pond right there called Clark Pond. There's a saying my dad used to say when I could tell he was frustrated with the people he would have to deal with in his job. He was the animal control officer of this town that I'm in right now, Ipswich, Massachusetts. And it doesn't just have to deal with dogs and cats and things of that nature. So my dad was in control of everything. Well, I had to be responsible for all the calls, all the problems, deers, getting hit in the road by Crane Castle. He would have to put them to sleep right there, which he could not stand because he's such an animal-loving individual. Anybody that's watching this that knows Harry was the real deal. Love you, Dad. Hi. And even that, there we go. That's going to be a point of contention we're going to talk about, because how good was your relationship with your father growing up? What did you think about it? Be honest. Or your mother, whichever one it was. So yeah, we would be in low-income housing, going to Catholic school, faking the funk almost, because nobody really knew I lived there. I wouldn't tell anybody until somebody wanted to come over or hang out. I mostly would go over other people's houses. So I don't know what it was like for you growing up, but there's part of my money story, right? That we were in lack and limitation right then, bang. I don't remember lack and limitation when my parents were together and we had that wonderful house in Rowley, because my dad was working mega jobs. He was in sales, he had a company car, we had like 2-3 cars in the driveway, he had like a GTO, he had a motorcycle. We had a house where you could drive up to it and the headlights would open the garage. It was a cool place, and we had a beautiful pond that we had people come over and play hockey right next to our house. It was built onto our property. And the stories for days, like everyone else. But we had to leave there. It was tumultuous. My parents would fight, my dad was drinking. Even though it looked great on the outside, boy, oh boy, was it not on the inside. At certain times, it was just so crazy. And of course, at certain times, it was so wonderful and happy and laughing and loving. Or so it appeared. And it never lasted. Why? Patterns playing out unconsciously. No one's really aware of why they're doing a lot of the things that they're doing. Treating people the way they're treating them. Frustrated, short, downtrodden, talking to people, things of that nature, patronistic. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you got mental warfare. That's what I got from my dad, a lot of it. He'd stay silent on you. He'd do all kinds of things on you. And he would hit me too. But the thing with the frustration and the hitting and the grabbing, the punching, those things heal, right? Those little outbursts, even though it's another traumatic event, that stuff kind of like goes away, right? But the mental warfare is what I would brace for most, definitely. Because you knew it was coming on certain, how shall I say, in certain situations or as a result of certain situations. And my dad would always say like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me this before? And it's like, I can't tell you anything ever. Well, yeah, you can. I want it to be like that, and everyone always says things like that, like, oh, even in relationships, you can tell me anything. And then when you do, you go off the rails. And regardless, I know you know what I'm talking about. During those years that my parents were married, there would be all kinds of things go on, fights, physical fights. My dad would grab me by my lip and rip it, trying to pick me up, put me on my top bunk because I made my sister's lip bleed that day. I used to like to trip people. And I'm sure all these little frustrations that were coming out of me was that energy trying to release itself on something else and feel that same feeling of, and I got it out now too. So, lots to talk about, but not so much, right? Because if you can relate, whatever your story was in your house, lane, thumbprint, road to hoe, it's relative, right? This is where it comes around. Most people in their life will use all of that as weight, me included. I knew nothing otherwise than to use it as weight. Everybody in my world was using problems as weight, using seeming difficulties and challenges as weight. As I got older, I learned how to use that weight to get in shape. That's the only thing I can think of right then, trying to be cheeky. But seriously, I morphed so hard after all of it that I became unrecognizable of sorts. And it came in the physical form. It came in the mental form, and it continues. But that's this place, right? You and I are no different, and I'm sure you can attest to the same on certain levels. So now what are you doing? How is everything? What was it like for you growing up? How was the shaming and condemning? How was the money? And how is it now? Have you made a study of yourself and figured it all out and untangled it? Once we become aware, it is all fun. It really is all fun. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, well, maybe for you, and I used to say those things too, believe me. I'm from New England. Work hard and no one wants to hear it. You complaining? Shut the F up. So, what's happening these days? Because when you make a study of yourself and look at the areas of your life that aren't where you think you desire, need, want them to be. So there's some interesting words in there, see? Now we're gonna get into nuanced points. Because if you're saying wanting, it denotes you don't already have it. And here's where people can drop off, because I used to. Everyone would say you have everything. It's already here right now. What you want wants you. And these concepts can be, how shall I say, abstract and challenging to understand for the newcomer and the uninitiated. I get it. But you and I, this little I, are no different. And the big I that knows this, knows. Bob Proctor, I was fortunate enough in my lifetime, and I do not say this to impress, only to express what would come through that guy to me. He would say things like, he would cut me off mid-sentence almost and say, hey, do you know what the truth is here, first things first? Do you know what the truth is on this planet? Yeah, the truth, I would say. And he'd go, your truth. Whatever you believe to be true and want to believe to be true, desire to believe is true, will be true for you. I had never heard it that way. I had never been posed that. I had never seen somebody with such conviction who already had what I desired to have relay that to me that way. And then he would say, I don't know what energy is, do you? No one knows what it is. But you don't walk up to the wall and say, please, work for me today. This place is here for us, guys. And I don't want to be the guru teacher. So, what was it like for you growing up? And what is it like for you today? Do you love yourself and who you are and who you've become? Do you operate with integrity? God's plan, not mine. The golden rule, right? Do you do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Do you love your neighbor like you love yourself? Why not? Oh, it's hard. Watch your words. Nothing's hard. It just is. Bob Proctor would teach me that. Face to face. There's nothing that makes $1 million big except for you and someone else that taught it to you, right? Would you learn all the things you learned? Did you learn them from your source, your own thoughts? Because you can really think for yourself. We were given that power to imagine. The power of imagination, whoa. It's one of the higher faculties that they never really talk to you about. They tell you not to daydream in school and things like that. Be like Johnny, when that's the last person you can truly be like, right? Whoa, what's happening here? What happened? And what's going to happen moving forward is wondrous and beautiful. And I truly know, not just believe, I know, I have a knowing and a belief in my heart that this is so amazing that we are able to be at this level, at this time in history. For me to get to the point of Leno's Love situation, I wouldn't even been able to say that years ago. So there you go. There's a part of the nervous system that's the proof in the pudding. Your body feels awkward when you go to say certain things. Why? Because of your beliefs and your conditionings, patterns that are playing out. Do you ever sit still and be quiet? Do you ever shut up and sit down? Because what will happen if you do? Your nervous system isn't used to it, but you can regulate it. That's what that means. And I had to learn it too. And you and I are no different. So, sit down, shut up, be soft. Shut. Quiet the default mode network for a little while. Because why? Not because I say so. Because the rest of the world is catching on like wildfire. That still small voice inside of you is the thing. And it never talks shit. It never hates on anything. Never even says that word. Your words are your wand. And when you sit in the silence, you'll realize, there it is. You won. Whatever it was you thought you were looking for, it's right there. And in those moments, the still small voice, whether it's in the shower, whether it's walking, all these moments of clarity that arise is the real you. And who is the real you? Where's here? Where's yesterday? Where's tomorrow? Oh, so it's only a mind thing? It's only a mental thing? It's all a mental thing? A memory is a perfect imaginal act. Think about that for a minute. A lot of people say, I can't imagine my future. I can't imagine what I love. But you truly do every day, because when you see what you don't love, You instantly say it, and the contrast is there. In the stillness, clarity arises. I promise. Bob Proctor would look me right in my eyes and say this: what are you pretending not to know? What? Because you already know what you desire. You already know what you love. And you know how to get there. You do. Whoa. Now that's heavy, right? Because I would go on and struggle with that a little bit when I would leave there back in 2000 and gotta be 15 years ago anyway. And now it's just free and clear. The runway, if you can't feel it. And I desire the same for you, to hear your real voice and make a study of yourself. Because you can't outthink a dysregulated nervous system. It's just not gonna happen. You could say you're gonna go do this, you could say you're gonna make the millions. Go try. If you're not the container that can hold it, good luck to you. Seriously, make a study of yourself. Stay in the love. From everything I've seen and read and come to know, it's even on a big headstone up at the cemetery. God is love. And maybe when we think of God, we think of Jesus and of one guy and walking around. Anybody that has that, I get it, because I grew up that way too. However, you're a piece of it as well as Jesus was, if it was really a thing. Because you can walk on water too, proverbially, right? You know you can. You've made magic many times since you've been born. So expect miracles, everyone. From this moment on, don't think anything else. Be like Buckminster Fuller said, become an inverse paranoid. What's that mean? Everything good is happening for me, because that's fact. That's a divine perspective, or so they say, right? That everything is happening for your greater good. If it's falling apart, it's falling apart to be put back together. Relax. Mary Morrissey, where are you? How about the 3-day rule? Her and her husband, the world fell apart, but a woman taught her, give it 36 hours. I think it was 36 hours or the 3-day rule. And within 3 days, he had the best job of his life, the husband. He had just lost his, and they thought their world was over. He was even able to do his favorite thing, which was ride his bike to work. Trust, faith, you can't see it. Fear, they both need you to believe in something you can't see. I choose faith and trust. Sure, fear comes up, but it's a fantasized experience appearing real. And in California, I learned you can face everything and rise, because fear is fake. Mr. Kennedy even said so, remember? Fear it, fear, because it's a bunch of BS. And you and I are no different. Much love from Leno. If this hit, throw comments in there. Don't worry about being seen, because that will bolster you up and you'll be seen more and more and more, and it won't be a thing anymore. That's how it works. You transmute through. So sit with it. It's all gonna work out. Regulate with me. We'll co-regulate, that's what they call it, together.